get ready to please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. If you're a member of the community who wants to be heard on an application, if you have not filled one of these out, please fill one out and bring it up front. We'll call you up during that public hearing to ask you to speak. We ask applicants to please keep their presentations to 30 minutes or less, and we ask members of the community to keep their presentations to 3 minutes or less. That being said, the first item on the agenda is Planning Board application, public hearing, Harvinda Tiara, PB 2025-027, north side of Sunrise Highway Service Road, State Route 27, between Manatuck Boulevard and Fifth Avenue, County Route 13, Bay Shore, 1181 Sunrise Highway. Applicant requests a Planning Board special permit for a minor restaurant in the Business 1 District pursuant to 68-272.1A. Site plan modifications are also requested. Is the applicant here?
Good evening, everyone. I'm just here to say that we're trying to bring a new flavor, fresh options, and a cultural variety to the community. It's a quick pick-up-and-go type of spot restaurant, and it's perfect for busy families, workers who want something fast but high quality. We are committed to being clean, efficient, and community-minded in the neighborhood, and I feel like it will add a good value to the community. Rajni Tiara.
Thank you.
That's a lot.
I'm going to go to public comment. I may do this a little out of order and go to Ms. Wozniak first, so those that want to speak and hear a little more about what the project is. But I'll just say this at the onset. I don't necessarily have a problem with what you want to do, but I do have a problem with the landlord where you want to go into. There are a lot of people who are not here this evening who sent in letters. I just want to say that we did acknowledge receiving those and reading those. So we're probably going to talk more about the property itself more so than about what you want to do there.
Yeah.
You know, it may be a good idea. It may just be the wrong location based upon the landlord of that property and the condition of that property, as well as the fact there are open violations that they have not corrected on that property. But why don't I, Ms. Wozniak, I'm going to just do this out of order just so they get a better understanding of it, and I'll ask the community to come up and speak afterwards.
I just also have a quick thing. I did also send an email to the landlord asking him to make sure that he repairs the speed bump, which he said he will, put in new striping and LED lights, and upgrade the signage, paint, and all that stuff. So I do have an email here, which I can give to you as well.
We'll take and make it part of the record, just based upon his track record or their track record and not getting things done. I don't know how well that email by itself will sit with the board, but we'll talk more about that.
Okay. That's it on my.
So I'm just going to go out of order on this one, Ms. Wozniak. Do you want to give a report, and then we'll go to the public?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The property is located on the north side of Sunrise Highway in Bay Shore, and it's improved with a multi-tenant shopping center that was originally constructed in the 1950s. The most notable tenants are Dunkin' Donuts and Advanced Auto Parts, and there's a mix of other office, retail, and restaurant uses in the center. Tonight, the applicant's looking to open a 16-seat halal restaurant in one of the center tenant spaces. The restaurant will be approximately 1,943 square feet and will operate from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. While restaurants are a customary and appropriate use within commercial shopping centers, the subject parcel exhibits conditions that warrant improvement in order to adequately support the proposed restaurant as well as other businesses in the center. For example, the parking stalls aren't striped, there are cracks and ponding in the asphalt lot, dumpsters are not being kept in their enclosures, and the property lacks any landscaping or buffers. In addition, many of the tenants are not CO'd, and there is unpermitted overnight parking of commercial vehicles on the west side of the lot. The property has a history of poor maintenance and violations which have yet to be addressed. Based on this, planning would recommend the board reserve decision in order to address the public comments that we're about to hear, I'm sure, and draft some reasonable conditions to address the site improvements that need to be done.
Thank you, Ms. Wozniak. Mr. Brown.
Linda Yuskovich.
Hi, Hi, my name is Linda Yeskovich. I reside next to the stores for the past 33 years, and I would like the board to give serious consideration in the existing site conditions and their impact on the surrounding properties prior to any approval of an additional restaurant use. This has absolutely nothing to do with this young lady and the restaurant she is opening. While the parking spaces may exist in the shopping center, currently experience unsafe and poorly managed conditions. There's lack of clear marked parking spaces and traffic direction arrows, resulting in confusing and unsafe vehicle circulation, poor internal traffic flow within the parking lot, unsafe ingress and egress onto Sunrise Highway Service Road, particularly at the east exit or entrance, I don't know what you call it. There's no signs there stating, is it an entrance, is it an exit? There's no arrow, there's nothing. Poor lighting conditions at night, creating poor safe conditions, security concerns. There's no on-site security presence. There's loitering in that parking lot. There's panhandling. I don't even know if you want to go there, honey. Trust me. There's illegal overnight parking of abandoned trucks that are unregistered, and they've been there for like 6 to 9 months, okay? There's ongoing litter and garbage, including debris, all around the dumpsters. There's unregulated garbage pickup activity that come by multiple sanitation companies during morning hours between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. They're not during your ordinance. I understand that they can pick up at 5 a.m. in the morning, and I have to deal with that garbage dumpster being there next to my bedroom window. But I do not have to listen to it at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and 3 a.m. because there's 3 different companies coming. You need to regulate that. She's going to need her own dumpster fenced in because there's already all those for each restaurant has their own. She's going to need her own. There's also a serious buffer issue. The property, there's no separation between the commercial property and the residential property. There's no buffer there. There's no trees, there's no bushes, there's no privacy. The noise, the light just migrates everywhere. The fencing is in disrepair at some places. In some places, it doesn't even exist. You can go right into the backyard. I have photos, don't worry. I also have emailed photos to you. The fencing, the vehicles park literally up to the residential fencing inches away, missing fencing everywhere. There's also a pattern at this shopping center of the business operating inconsistently with the approved use of the site plans, including unauthorized after-hours activities and use of rear entrances. Given the history of Mr. Tom Gregory and the property, it is essential that any approval be strictly limited to the exact use described in the application, not for an after-hours club. That is Thursday through Sunday from 2 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. And little girls are walking to the bus at 7 a.m. on a Monday morning, and those guys are coming out of that after-hours club. All the police know about it. I even rode in a police car showing them. They are fully aware of the precinct. This is ridiculous. This parking lot, there's like a list of things you need to do. I mean, you guys know your job, and you know everything. I also have 77 photos here showing you all the violations and 50 of them I took yesterday within a 20-minute period that I chose to because I didn't want to go through all my photos of all the years I've lived there. So I chose to just take an extra 15 minutes out of my day yesterday, and I documented all the pictures. I have pictures of within a 2-minute span of cars coming in and coming out of the same exit. It's ridiculous. There's garbage, there's oil back there from Avis. Like, what are we doing about the Avis Auto? Like, they get deliveries at 2 a.m. on a Sunday. You know, 2 a.m. going into Monday. It's ridiculous. This Tom Gregory is out of control. I've lived there for 33 years, and I've dealt with him. He, for some reason, is grandfathered in, and I have been told by the marshal's office he is grandfathered in. And until he does some structural engineering to the property that requires them to get an engineer in there, he really doesn't have to follow anything.
Well, We'll take those photos from you, make them part of the record.
I
If
mean-
you have a listing of what you just read off to us, I tried to write it all down as you were speaking.
I have this,
Please,
you can have
give
this
that as-
whole thing.
That'd be helpful if we make that part of the record as well. We'll take that from you.
James Yukovich.
Thank you. I'm sorry to be upset.
No, thank you. Kelly.
How you doing? My name's James Yuskovich. It's my wife. It's a tough act to follow here. We've been dealing with them for 33 years, like she says. The property is totally run down. There are trucks they're commercial trucks, which shouldn't be. The garbage, in retaliation to the landowners around who live behind there, he put spotlights so they shine into our houses. They shine into our house. Everyone in back there, that's shining into our house. And there's nothing we could do. We call you guys up, we make our complaints, and it seems that the can keeps getting kicked down the road. Okay? We need something done. This is why we're coming to you to complain about it. I had 2 accidents there. My wife's car was T-boned last year. At Sunday morning, at 8 in the morning, they came down the alley while she was going maybe 8 miles an hour to Dunkin' Donuts. Guy shot out and T-boned her, totaled my car. Another one came out on the west entrance, where the entrance is from Fifth Avenue onto Sunrise, the service road, which you shoot across. She tried to beat the traffic coming in, going out. She hit me on the side of my truck. The place is just out of control. He does nothing for it, nothing for the community. It's just for the business owners there, the owner of the property. You guys have to get a grip on it. You got to take control of it. You do a fantastic job in the town of Bayshore here, regentrifying it with everything that goes on. But it seems that that one shopping center is a blight. It's a sore eyes. Everyone who comes into Bayshore, who leaves Bayshore. We got the Bayshore mothers that they won't even go there. They say it's just ghetto. It's just totally ghetto, and it's heartbreaking. I believe in going to the businesses and doing my business with them because they're trying to make a living. They're good people and they're trying to do it, but this guy does nothing to make anything better for the community or the property itself. And that's why I leave it up to you to take charge and do something about it. That's all I have to say. Like I said, it's a tough act to follow, my wife.
Thank you. Can I just confirm, the nightclub or the bar is still in operation?
It's in the discount store. The discount store only utilizes the first 30 feet. That's why I wanted to state that the halal has to be for halal. They only utilize the first 30 feet. After that, the back of the building is empty. There's nothing back there. They go in and out the back door. I believe those trucks have been put there as a barrier so you cannot see behind them.
Thank you for clarifying.
Because they are a wall. Those trucks, if you look at, they build a wall.
Thank
But
you.
yes, that club is still there.
Matthew Yukovich.
Hello, good evening. My name's Matthew Yuskovich. I've been a resident at 1313 Lombardi Boulevard my whole life, and I believe right now the stores, the environment around it is the worst it's ever been that I've ever seen personally. The parking, driving, everything around there is very chaotic. They have these trucks parked that are causing blind spots, so it's causing people having to stop short, get into accidents. I also believe it's very safe for pedestrians, whether they're walking to and from their car, with cars speeding through the speed bumps and whatnot. And also, getting in and out of Sunrise Highway is very dangerous. I believe there's supposed to be an exit of the parking lot, and there's supposed to be an entrance, and it's not marked at all. Everyone uses one exit and exit, and it's not enough space for 2 vehicles. And I feel like with the new restaurant coming in, as I'm not opposed to it, I feel like it is unsafe due to there's going to be increased traffic, delivery trucks, garbage trucks, and congestion in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody come in late on this application who wishes to be heard? Not seeing anyone. I'm not sure if there are questions from the board, but I'll just restate, I have no opposition to the restaurant. Unfortunately, the landlord is non-compliant. They have open violations. They don't show for hearings. They don't do things. I'm going to ask Ms. Wozniak if she would ask public safety, fire marshal, engineering, and the rest for a joint date to go onto the site and make me aware of that date, because I'd like to join them there. They were before this board. They were denied that club, and what I'm hearing right now, their club is operating, and they have to be denied it. And obviously, there are ongoing open violations that I think need to be addressed. So we're not ready to move forward on this. Unfortunately, an email from a landlord who has not been responsive in the past would not suffice for me. I don't know about the rest of the board. I'll let them be heard on that. So it's certainly not moving forward this evening, and I don't know unless things start changing there that any application is going to move forward there with the open violations. Is there any other comments, Mr. Brown?
Yeah, to the applicant, I don't think there's anybody here opposed to what you want to do there, and they'll probably be very supportive of it. Unfortunately, it's in a shopping center where the landlord has just been absolutely abominable. From what I understand, that we've been taking them to court, and they don't show up at the court, and there's 2 or 3 times, and there's been an extension, but I would make a motion tonight to reserve this and save it, and hopefully we can get the landlord straightened out so that, a person that wants to come to our town and invest in our town with a new business, that we can support them. But we can't do that right now with the condition of this shopping center. The amount of emails and photos and testimony that we received over the last few days from the community is just, it's an impossible feat right now, where it can't be supported as is with the owner of the shopping center. So I just wanted to get that on the record. Hopefully, we can get him straightened out so that we can move forward. But at this point, we can't.
Are there further questions from the board or statements?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Moriarty?
Yeah, thank you. I would agree with both my board members that, I'm in no position, frankly, to authorize any new activity on this site until some of these problems start getting addressed. Nevertheless, though, I think it doesn't excuse the town's obligations to go out there. If we're aware of violations, and clearly we are aware of violations, if there's an illegal club operating in a discount store, that needs to be shut down ASAP. So I would agree with Mr. Chair that that be arranged as quickly as possible with code enforcement. We've also got illegal storage trucks on that site. If we can start hitting those trucks with violations and tickets and the like. I see tickets being delivered in the Islip train station on a regular basis, so I'm sure we can get somebody out there to ticket cars that are unregistered and being stored on that site as well. So I've got a real problem. I feel for you as an applicant, I really do. We've had this problem happen on a number of other properties where, through no fault of your own, the landlord fails to live up to his obligations. And the only way we can punish him is by, unfortunately, delaying your application. So, and I agree, this is, in my view, the worst shopping center in the town of Islip. It's abysmal. Hasn't been maintained. It doesn't even paint. I don't even know how we do parking calculations, because half of the striping's been gone for years. And the fact that, I appreciate the fact that you've reached out to him, but I have absolutely no confidence that he's going to do anything about these problems based on what we've seen before. And for him to be, pointing lights into neighbors' properties, again, is something I think the town should be initiating actions. I know that he has to appear, but there are certain powers that we have in our own store that we can use to make his life a little bit unpleasant as well. He's been milking this property for years. It's an eyesore. It's a concrete slab, most of which has been broken up. As I said, the parking space is not even painted. I'm not even sure how they have a legal entrance onto the Sunrise Highway, the service road there, because it's right on the exit ramp. Yeah, I guess is that Fifth Avenue or Brentwood Road? Fifth Avenue, yeah. I mean, there's nothing marked. It seems like cars just drive over the curb. So it's inherently dangerous. We've now got illegal activities in the nightclub. You've got illegally stored vehicles on the property. We've got some opportunities to use some leverage to get his attention. Clearly, whatever we've been doing has not been getting his attention. So I guess it's on us to sort of take this effort and try to back up the neighbors here who've been living with a very difficult situation for a very long time. So I'm very sympathetic to the objections tonight. I'm prepared to block whatever needs to be blocked in order to get this guy's attention.
Thank you, Ms. Moriarty. Are there further questions from the board or statements? Not seeing any. I'm going to have the staff come speak to you afterward, just for the record purposes, but we will record whatever you want to say. We'll certainly have somebody speak with you afterwards about what's going on there. So I would just ask, and Kelly, the other thing I would just ask, if we ever get to the point where they come in compliance, which they're not at this point, is whether or not parking or the open space in the back I don't want to say, just in other words, it can be expanded, the parking be taken away, and a buffer be added in between that shopping center and those homes. I don't know if that parking is needed back there from anything I've seen on that property. And I think if we ever get to the point where they're going to comply with the overnight parking, with removing the illegal operations, the debris, the dumpsters, the striping, the entrance, the exit, and the rest, that another condition, in addition to all that, is that they had a proper buffer behind there with the neighbors' residences. So at this point, is there a motion, Mr. Brown?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to make a motion to close the public hearing and reserve the decision tonight.
It's a motion by Mr. Brown to close the public hearing and reserve decision. Is there a second? Ms. Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, we are reserved on that. If you wanted, those from the community want to speak to the staff, we can get you a business card or a phone number that you can reach out to the staff on. In terms of the application, I think you should speak to the landlord. I'm certainly will be in touch with him. And it's really in his hands right now if he wants to comply and move forward. We'd like to have you in the town of Islip as a business. If it's not their shopping center, hopefully there's another one that will work. Thank you. Just, if you're going to speak, just go up to the microphone because she's keeping a record.
I'm glad that I know of all the situation that's going on in the plaza, and I hope that he becomes compliant to it. However, me starting a small business there, I have invested a lot of money already, close to $35,000 with the architect and all the fees, and I feel like that's very unfair for me as a small business owner trying to start a restaurant, and I totally understand where you all are coming from, and I sympathize with that. I have kids myself, and I wouldn't want my kids or my family around this, and I hope he's in compliance with that. But now, hopefully he does, and I have to reapply and go through this application process again and pay the fees again to do
No,
this.
the application is
for this year?
reserved, so if the landlord were to move forward and correct the deficiencies that we've outlined, then you'd come back before this board, not a new application.
Okay.
You'd come back for vote before this board. I'm going to do my best through Ms. Wozniak to get public safety, the fire marshal, engineering, and everyone else from the town, maybe the county and the state out there. I will join them at the site, and we can walk through all the deficiencies. He's either going to come in compliance or he's not. If he's not in compliance, that's unfortunately something between you and the landlord that
Okay.
we have no control over. So
So it's
if
just
there's nothing
contingent.
against you and your business, I think everybody in this board would like to welcome you there. The community would probably like to welcome you there. But there are other deficiencies with that shopping center that need to be dealt with. Continuing to approve everything is, he's not going to come into compliance. He hasn't done it so far. We rejected that last application outright, and from what I'm hearing this evening, it's still in operation.
Understood. All right,
thank you.
thank you for your time.
Item 2 on the agenda, Town Board application, public hearing, Greenview Capital Partners, 1 LLC, CZ 2025-027, west side of Park Avenue, approximately 110 feet south of Gibson Street, Bay Shore, 17 South Park Avenue. Applicant requests a change of zone from Business 1 to Downtown Development District in order to construct a 12-unit apartment house. Site plan modifications may be required as part of the application. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Larry Gargano, Greenview Capital Partners, offices at 5 Shore Lane, Bay Shore, New York. And as stated in the notice, this is a request for a change of zone. The subject parcel is on South Park Avenue, at the end of South Park Avenue. It currently has 3 dwelling units on it with 2 accessory structures, and within those 3 dwelling units are 6 legal rental apartment units. The property is somewhat unique in that sense, in terms of having multiple structures on one lot. However, it's been this way for many, many years. Directly to the west is a single-family home. Directly to the east of our property is another single-family home. Directly to the south. Directly to the east is the Bay Shore Historical Society dwelling unit, where they operate as a somewhat of a museum and society. Nobody resides at the house. And directly to the north of us is an office-type building. I'm not sure if it's office or industrial, and then directly north of that is a restaurant. We also border the municipal lot on Gibson and Maple Avenue. The structures are situated in various formats, within anywhere from 10 to 15 feet off the south property line and very close to the east property line. Those are the existing conditions. When we looked at the property and thought about the possibility of redevelopment, we started to work with the architect, Bush Associates, who we've worked with on many other projects in the downtown area, and we looked at zoning options that might be available. And to reiterate, the existing zoning is Business 1 District, which allows for commercial development. We thought there was an opportunity here to use the Downtown Development District zoning and redevelop the site with a modest, we consider it to be a modest increase in density, not relevant to the 6 units that are there. We're going 12, so obviously we're doubling it, but modest, relevant to what the DDD could allow in terms of FAR and density. We approached it with a modest design because we recognize that it is south of the highway and does border residential. Like all of the applications that we hope to bring before the town, we always look at 3 criteria as to whether or not we could meet them before we bring an application in. Those 3 criteria are very simple. Can we improve the neighboring, can we improve the property? And in this case, we can. Can we improve the conditions surrounding the property? We can, and I'll elaborate on that. And of course, the third is it economically viable for us to enter into a project of this type? And we have determined that it is. So as you go through the pamphlet that's been left for each of you, after we go through the existing conditions on the 3rd page, you can see how the proposed site is imposed onto the property. And what we did, which we think is a great solution to how the traffic movement is on for this property, we are utilizing the Town of Islip municipal lot as our access point. Prior to proposing this in a formal way, we discussed this with planning, and I believe planning spoke with the various departments and was given a nod that, yes, we can pursue this in a concept plan and then take it from there. So that's why this presentation tonight shows that parking, that entrance through the municipal lot. We feel it accomplishes 2 very important things. Number one, it eliminates traffic out onto Park Avenue, which is a narrow road and a dead-end road, so it's a little bit complicated at the back end of that road. And it also allows us to have complete frontage on Park Avenue for the doors and the windows of the building, which we believe in this type of urban redevelopment, eyes on the street, a building in close proximity to the sidewalk, creates the most secure and aesthetically pleasing type of redevelopment. It puts the parking in the back and is shielding it from the road, and it will be somewhat concealed on all sides. In addition to this access point, we noticed that on the municipal lot, there's a curb line that runs parallel with our north property line, and by allowing a slight encroachment onto our property line, we can improve that curb line and add an additional 12 parking spots for the Town of Islip. Those would be open lots, open parking lot, open stalls for the municipal lot that the town could take advantage of for the parking stresses that are currently happening in downtown development areas like Bayshore. They could be metered, they could be revenue generated, but most importantly, they could be offered as part of this development. On-site, we are parking compliant. We require 21 parking stalls based on the code. We are providing 21 parking stalls in our parking area, plus 2 additional handicap stalls for a total of 23. Also on Park Avenue, by eliminating the 2 curb cuts that are currently on the property to serve the existing conditions, we're creating an uninterrupted curb line, which would allow for 3 additional parking spaces on the curb, parallel parking along Park Avenue. So that's basically the overall concept. This zoning, if approved, would also be requesting buffer relaxations on the south and east property line. The south property line, the edge of the building is 11 feet from the property line. The existing conditions with the house to the south of us also has very close proximity to the property line, so we recognize that. And we have spoken with the owner of that house, and we talked about enhancing the buffer plantings, which we certainly would be more than happy to do. On the east property line, we are requesting a buffer relaxation as well. Again, that is the Bay Shore Historical Society. Nobody is residing in that home. I don't believe that even if they were not there anymore for some reason, it still couldn't be used as a residential home. The next page just has a larger version of the site plan, which shows the added parking on the municipal lot, shows the parking on our site, circulation of sidewalks, orientation of front doors, and has zoning data that provides all the information relevant to the DDD district and how we are moderately requesting density relevant to what could be proposed on the site. There's floor plans and elevations attached to the pamphlet, which I'm happy to talk about if anybody wants to get specific. And we also included some color renderings at the back end of the packet, just as possible suggestions for color, but we're certainly open to talking with planning for further input on that in terms of what the overall aesthetics will be. But we think the overall geometry and detailing with the bay windows and the traditional shutters and formal kind of row house look is appropriate for this particular location. And that's our application.
Thank you. We're going to go to public hearing then. Mr. Colgan.
Danielle Opisso.
Good evening, members of the board and chairman. My name is Daniel Opisso. I am the current resident and owner of 21 South Park Avenue, which is the property directly adjacent to the proposed project here. I initially moved in there as a renter back in late 2016, was able to purchase the property in 2021. And last year, I purchased a property across the street from the proposed project at 14 South Park, which is actually a two-family duplex. Currently, the prior owner resides there, and I have a 5-year renewable lease with her. She's elderly. I have a 5-year renewable lease with her at a fixed rate. That was part of one of the arrangements of me purchasing the property. Being there for about a decade, I've had a unique experience to see a lot of developments in Bay Shore, which I couldn't be happier with. You know, I'm born and raised in Bay Shore, and I love the town. I don't plan on leaving, and I'm optimistic and happy about the direction it's going. That being said, I've had a unique experience to be able to see these developments, many more apartments, the metered parking, the addition of restaurants, Tuesday Live by the Bays, all these different activities that have kind of increased in the past several years, and its effect on South Park Avenue itself. As I'm sure many of you are familiar with the road, it's sort of unique and a little bit quirky because it's a very short road. It's relatively narrow with parking on either side. There's no meters on the roadside parking there, and it very abruptly ends at the opening to my property at 21, where I currently reside. And as the development has increased, the addition of Toast, which is obviously a popular restaurant, and the metered parking, the traffic on South Park Avenue has increased steadily over the past several years. And that, in addition to the fact that it is a narrow street, the result of that is essentially a bit of a chaotic situation for the vehicles coming down South Park. There's not, it's not designed like a normal sort of cul-de-sac or even a wide street. There's oftentimes cars parked on either side of the road, and vehicles come down the road. They don't seem to really, unless they're familiar with the area, realize that it's a dead end, and they're stuck. They have to turn around or try to turn around in a very narrow area. Currently, the property where the proposed development is has 2 driveways that enter the property. So that's been a little bit of a, that's been helpful because vehicles are able to do 3-point turns using those driveways. As I understand the new plans, the plans that Greenview has proposed, that would eliminate those 2 driveways. And I foresee that being a major problem. Because, as I mentioned, vehicles come down the road, whether they're delivering packages. I think quite frequently a lot of the vehicles come down the road because it's not metered parking on the road, and I'm not suggesting that it change to that, but vehicles will come down the road very briefly and see that, they say, rather than going to pay a meter, let me see if I can tuck into one of these parking spots on the street. There's very few, turns out, and then they're stuck. They have to turn around, and there's almost no area to do it. That causes them to have to back down the road into what has now become a very busy intersection, a 2-way stop, right outside of Toast. There's oftentimes pedestrians waiting outside for tables, things like that. Sometimes I'm stuck trying to just leave my property because there's a backup, and it's a bit of a hectic situation, and it's gotten worse significantly over the past several years. I do understand that the access to the proposed property is going to be through the public parking lot right now, which I think is going to be a great benefit. That being said, the additional people, the additional development, deliveries, things like that, I think is going to continue to be a problem. Quite frankly, it's a problem regardless of whether or not the property was developed. And
Can I ask you at the end of, where do you stand on the project itself?
Well, I'm not opposed to it. I think that it could be a positive for the community. I want to actually thank Mr. Gargano. I'd gotten in contact with him previously, and he took some time. I spoke with him yesterday over the phone, and today he took a significant amount of time, sat down with me, and went over a detailed site plan. It was something that he suggested. He was very helpful, reasonable. We discussed many of my concerns, and I admired a lot of the work he's done. I think he's done a great job for the community. A lot of the projects I think have, like I said, done a great, better service to the community. 11 Maples right across the way. I think it's a beautiful property.
I'm just going to ask you if you can bring it to a close on time.
So anyway, I'm not against the property. I think that there are a few adjustments could go a long way in making it much more manageable with respect to the traffic and with respect to with respect to the traffic and the maintenance of that area. One other thing I just wanted to discuss with you that's a major problem is the drainage on the road. The road is falling into disrepair. There's one drain at the south, it would be the southwest corner of the road. I don't know, for some reason, when there's swirling winds, there's always landscape debris, things like that clog up the drain, in no time. Any rain that comes down pools up down there. I have a photograph. Actually, I think my dad might be speaking in a moment. He has some photographs of the drainage is terrible. That causes, obviously, in the wintertime, there's a lot of freezing. The road is, the disrepair, it's accelerating, and it needs to be addressed.
What I'm going to ask, just for time's sake,
Okay.
is that if you
Okay,
want to
so-
submit something in writing, we'll make it part of the
No
record, and
problem.
we'll
the other thing,
share it with the
obviously,
board.
was, again, I want to thank Mr. Gargano. I think that the property it will be an overall positive with those things addressed. He did mention, my other concern that I brought to him was privacy issues, because it's a 3-story property. It's directly next to mine. I understand he's asking for a, the buffer to be a variance on the buffer that's somewhat significant. But it's my understanding that there's going to be no windows on the south side, which would look over my property, which is something that went a long way in alleviating that concern. But anyway, like I said, the traffic needs to be addressed and the drainage on the property. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Lawrence Opiso?
Good evening, Chairman, board members. I'm Lawrence Opiso. I'm Dan's dad. I live at 27 Seafield Lane. I've been there for 47 years. My interest in this project is that I'm a concerned dad, and I'm also on the deed. I'll keep this brief. I'm going to give you some visuals of what Dan was speaking about, but I do want to preface my discussion and say that we did meet with Mr. Gargano. He was a gentleman. He addressed a lot of our concerns. He was sensitive to it, and I am not opposed to this project. My biggest concern is, as Dan was saying, it's a narrow, dead-end street. I don't know if you have the photographs. Image number 1. That's looking south. The proposed project will be on the farther on the left, the red building. That just gives you an image of the property. The second picture is very typical of a car making a 3-point turn going into somebody's driveway. Number 3 is looking directly into our driveway. South Park is contiguous with our property. 4 and 5 are the driveways on the proposed property, which I believe will no longer be there. 6 is the driveway across the street. So these are really prime points where people turn around. With the 12 apartments, I'm concerned with Amazon deliveries, FedEx, UPS, food deliveries. So I think that's a problem. I don't think the town would want cars backing up, trucks backing up and going in reverse on that street. Mr. Gargano, we discussed a possible solution, which I guess he can go over that with you. So that's my biggest concern. I'm not sure if the next couple of pictures are appropriate for this meeting, but they are important. Number 7, this is the only catch basin on the whole street, and the street is pitched down to the south, right in front of my son's property. That's his fence. The least I can say is it's far from adequate. It often floods, as you can see in picture number 8, after a rain. I've called the town Public Works regarding this issue. They'll occasionally come and clean it, but we often have to do it ourselves. So 8 is after a significant rain, 9 is after a light rain, and 10 you can see the road condition at South Park. So I'm not sure if it's appropriate for me to bring this up here, but it's a concern. I hope it could be addressed. And that's it. Again, I'm not opposed to this project. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Marie Crossan?
Hi, my name is Marie Crossan. I just need to have a voice. I live on the property at 17 South Park Avenue. Unfortunately, my son and I, like years ago, had a fire, and I've been there 27 years. My son grew up. I have 4 beautiful grandchildren, and I still live at 17 South Park Avenue. My family is all from Bayshore. I graduated from Bayshore High in '77, and Bayshore is like my life. I'm just concerned about my happy little place as to what's going to happen to me and where I'm going to venture on. In the past couple of years, I had open heart surgery, and I'm on disability, but I'm still able to pay my rent. And I just wanted to have a voice. Okay, so, thank you for your time.
Ed Williamson?
He's my friend, support.
Hi. As the previous speaker said, that's a very strange street, and you really can't appreciate it unless you actually go down and see it yourself. But nobody here is talking about the people. Those aren't transients living in houses. They're Bayshore people. My friend's been there 20 years. These aren't people that are, not working or bums or something. They like Bayshore. They like where they're living. They want to stay there. And it doesn't seem to make any sense to knock down 3 houses, displace those people who want to be there, so somebody can build a 12-unit apartment and bring people from out of Bayshore in there who I'm sure have more money and can pay higher rent. It seems to me how's that improving the town? How is moving people out of the town making the town better? It's fine where it is, and as other speakers spoke out, you got to see that street to believe it. You really should go down there and see it yourself. You can't appreciate photos. Delivery trucks have to back down the street. They have a hard time turning around in it. I don't live there, but I have friends on the street, and I'm just trying to stick up for them, and somebody's got to talk for the people. It shouldn't be about money. The people shouldn't have to leave. It's a good piece of property. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the cards we have. Did anybody come in late who wishes to be heard? Not seeing anyone. Is that a yes? Just come on up, and then you can fill out a card afterwards.
Hi, I'm Dominic. Yeah, Dominic Matisse. I live in the same apartment as Marie. I live downstairs. I just want to know kind of what exactly is going on, if they're knocking down the houses, and I know you guys got papers to see what was going on. I just wanted to know what was going on with the apartments, because we kind of moved in there, and that was really it.
I'm not sure if we have a site plan we can show them. Mr. Gargano, do you have a site plan of what
Can I ask a question of him?
you can? Mr. Rulon.
Excuse me, sir? What's your address? Is it 15?
17 South Park Ave.
Oh, there's the unit there, and then there's 2 houses behind it, correct?
Yes.
And you're in one of the houses behind it on the same property?
No, I'm in the front house, the house right in front.
The front house?
Yeah. I just wanted this, like I said, I apologize. I just wanted to see exactly what was going on. 'Cause
Okay.
I tried asking some people, and they said, oh, I don't know until tonight, so.
Thank you. So I'm going
All right, sorry,
to turn to
thank
Mr., just when you're done with it, please return to Mr. Gargano. Mr. Colgan.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. As stated by the applicant, this application proposes a 12-unit apartment house on a property improved with 3 dwellings. The overall concept of the plan meets the spirit and intentions of the downtown development district, including to reduce automobile transportation demand by locating housing near major commercial employment centers. The site has close proximity to downtown Bayshore, which is anticipated to reduce the number of vehicle trips as well as support the local businesses. The conceptual site plan shows 32% overall landscaping and compliance with parking. The buffer to the south ranges from approximately 5 feet to 13 feet. It shows the site entrance via the municipal lot on Gibson Street. The applicant proposes to dedicate enough property to add 8 parking spaces along the southern row of the municipal lot. 2 additional spaces could also be added by removing a tree that appears to be dying based on street view photos. 3 additional parking stalls are proposed with a turnout on South Park Avenue. The staff has referred the site plan to the Division of Traffic Safety for any comment on that. With regards to the building elevations, they are contextual to surrounding area and show materials such as horizontal siding and standing seam awnings. The board may want to give consideration to have some of the unit entrances face the parking lot for tenant convenience and visual interest to the rear, and adding additional facade materials as accents. Based on the comments heard tonight, the staff recommends that the board reserve decision to go over the questions and concerns with the applicant.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Mr. Brown?
Mr. Gargano, no, I like the footprint and the project itself, and what are the size of the apartment? They don't look large at all.
No, they're About 700 square feet.
Right.
They're
And
all one bedroom. There's no two bedrooms proposed. They're all one bedroom.
So as far as density, it's really wouldn't be increasing the density on the property that much compared to 3 houses?
I haven't done a calculation, but that would be a fair statement that it's not going to be a one-for-one increase because the two single-family houses are obviously larger than one single apartment. The front house has 4 apartments in it. They're somewhat small, but yes, that would be a fair statement that it's probably less than a 50% increase.
Which, that's what makes the project appealing to me, because in Bay Shore, we really don't want to add more apartments with what we have over the last several years. But when you're going for about the same density and everything, it makes the project much more appealing for me. Adding parking also helps with downtown Bay Shore and adds to the community as a benefit. So I know there's some buffers that we want to talk about and let you talk about with the planning staff and everything. So we'll probably reserve tonight, I guess, unless my colleagues have any other ideas. But I would support the project.
Thank you.
Ms. Cruz.
Hi, I have questions about the entrances to the apartments. There would be in the front, there's no entrances in the back?
That's correct.
Okay, because then I would then have concerns that those people, especially those probably on the first floor, everybody's gonna be vying for parking on Park. So I feel like, I don't know if there's any which way, maybe to figure out some way to make the entrances towards the parking lot, or I just can't, I'm just gonna, my concern is really the parking in the front and the doors to the front. And maybe keeping one of the, I guess, driveways that are on the building or on the property as a way of access, so that if somebody does come and needs to do a turn, maybe they could go maybe towards the building behind Toast. And I did mention to staff of maybe figuring out a way to remove some of those parking that are on the south towards the property line of the, and maybe putting them towards the municipal parking. I know there's more buffer there. I don't know if that can be, kind of worked out, but I do feel like people will be then really vying for the parking on Park, and that just creates like a parking war that, nobody is gonna want, and everybody's gonna want, if your front door is on Park, they're not gonna wanna go to the back and park there if you can try to get a parking there, and then you're kind of fighting people with Toast, to get parking spots. So I really that's really my main concern on the front of it. But I did like rendering number 2. I did like those colors. So.
Thank you. So I appreciate your comments, and what I wanted to show you, which I think was just handed to you. So that building and that site plan, it should be a rendering of a larger building and a site plan. So that is Graymore Flats, which we built approximately 5 or 6 years ago. It's on the corner of it's on the corner of Mechanicsville and South Clinton Avenue, right behind St. Patrick's Church. It's almost the identical concept where, and if that property was formerly occupied by an adult home that then got turned into a very bad establishment. It was violated constantly by the town of Islip ordinance. And in any event, we purchased the property, we tore down the building. I'm not making a comparison with the existing conditions on this site, but the point is that what we wanted to do architecturally was create eyes on the street, doors on the street. So we fronted the entire building on Mechanicsville. We added parking along Mechanicsville, only 7 of them, but we put the other all the major parking is in the back. So that's a 30-unit building. It's been up and existing for more than 5 years now. And again, the tenants while I'm sure they would all love to park in their front door, the advantage of living in downtown Bayshore, they don't mind walking around the building. It's a well-lit parking lot. They feel safe. And so my point is that we're lucky enough to have a working, living example of how this concept that we're proposing tonight can work. We can do a reverse of the building and put the doors towards the parking lot, but then we're afraid of what the architectural version of that building will look like facing Park Avenue. And in an urban design and in the context of urban design, you want to try to keep front doors on the street for safety, security, and everything else.
Just, so then let me ask you, would you be able to then maybe for the second and third floor, put them in the back? Maybe just the front, the bottom level gets those facing.
We
Can
could
you
certainly
do both? I
talk,
don't
we
know.
could
I'm
certainly
just
talk with
asking
the
you.
architect about that.
Yeah.
That's actually an interesting suggestion, so we could
I'm
look at
just-
that and see if something like that might work.
Right.
I don't want to say it could until I speak with them.
Right,
but-
no,
yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out
But
how to.
that does cover both sides of it.
Yes.
But I just wanted to point out that with Graymore Flats around the corner from this building, it's a 30-unit property, and it's successfully been occupied since we built it. It has a very similar footprint, functions almost the exact same way. I also, if I may, respond to some of the things that were said tonight. So we recognize the conditions on South Park Avenue, particularly the dead end, and we would like to try to work with planning and engineering to see how we can create some sort of turnaround that allows people to do a three-point turn, possibly by encroaching a little bit on our property on one side of the building or the other. I will say this, though, whether it's us, certainly now that we own the property, if we were not to redevelop this property and just leave it what's there, we would look to make certain improvements to the site, which would include gates. So the three-point turn would be not happening anymore. We're not going to want public to drive on our property just to make turns. So it would have to be an improvement along the curb line in context with maybe redeveloping the site. Because just as our neighbor to the south of us has a gate because they don't want people on their property either, we would have the same concerns. It just happens to be going that way now because the prior owner, who did a good job maintaining the apartments, didn't really do much to the property and was absentee because the owner lived in the city. So there wasn't really a whole lot of eyes on the property. And so we would want to work closely with the town to try to solve some of the solutions on Park Avenue.
Thank you. Mr. Rulon?
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Gargano. Did you ever visualize an ingress and egress on Park instead of utilizing the municipal lot? And if not, why not?
We did do a study with that, which pushed the building further back into the parking in the front, or rotated the building and put the building on either the south property line or the north property line. So we did look at those options, but again, from an urban design perspective and what we think is the appropriate streetscape, we look at this as an urban redevelopment site because downtown Bayshore is an urban area. It's not a suburban area. It's
getting more urban, though. That's
It
the
is getting
issue.
more urban, but it was always urban. It just is now trending with the regular urban redevelopments that are going on everywhere in the downtown district. So there's always options as to how to put a building on a piece of property. We think this was the best footprint, and it created the most aesthetic along Park Avenue. But we have probably a half a dozen studies that show it in different ways, which include access onto Park Avenue. But as we've been listening and as we've observed since we've owned the property, I don't think putting cars moving in and out for the apartment building onto Park Avenue is necessarily the best thing for Park Avenue, particularly if people are going to start to, what we've seen is people just stack up along both sides of the road, and it actually becomes a little bit difficult to maneuver. So we're not going to be able to stop people from parking on the west side of Park Avenue, and if our tenants are coming out, then they could have some obstructions there too. So we just felt in terms of traffic movement this was a no-brainer because there's already good circulation coming through that parking lot.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Moriarty?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Just one suggestion or thought. I mean, I looked at some of these photos. I don't know why we permit parking on both sides of the street. I mean, it seems like it's not capable of handling the current parking. So one suggestion I'd throw out there, both to staff as well as to you, Mr. Gargano, is whether or not it would be feasible to just eliminate parking on, I'm guessing, the west side of that street, so that you have some, because I think it's going to be a safety issue as well for emergency vehicles and things like that. So it would seem to me that, given the narrowness of the street and the amount of space these cars are taking up on both sides of the street, it seems like that could potentially be an emergency situation, or a potential emergency issue for fire, ambulances and like, because they're going to need to move into your property if there's an issue there. So I throw it out there. I don't know what that contemplates. I don't know how easy or not that might be, Kelly or Sean, whoever's working on this, but it might be a consideration we think about.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gargano, my concerns, I've probably been saying them since, not about you specifically, just downtown Bayshore in terms of development right now of more apartments. My question is, since you own the property now, there are 4 units in the front house, is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
And what about the back 2?
1 in each.
So it's only 1 each, so we're going from 6 to 12.
Correct.
They're smaller, but we're still going from 6 to 12. So my only concern is, and unfortunately I keep bringing this up, and you're one of the better developers we have in the town, you do great work, your projects look great,
Thank you.
is just the impact on, it's become, between Union and Montauk has become this new urban area, and then we seem to forget about all the people that live south of that people have to travel through to get to their homes that are single-family homes and the like, which is where sort of my concern comes in. So I don't know where I stand on this one yet. I'd like to look at a little more closely, maybe take a ride down there and look at, how many cars go in and out of that property now, what we're looking at. Are there 20 cars going in and out of there? Are there 6 cars going in and out of there? And is this going to, putting 12 units in there, 1 to 2 people per unit, is that going to double the amount of cars, triple the amount of cars? What's the actual impact? I don't know what you see right now in terms of the number of cars that go in and out of there for the units that you have rented.
Well, again, because we're proposing 1-bedroom units only, we would expect that the occupancy, while not everybody's going to be there by themselves, we would expect that there would be a lot of single people, which would be 1 car. As you said, there's a lot of development in downtown Bayshore. And every time somebody suggests to me that we have too much development, whether it be planning board, planning staff, a neighbor, a friend, my response is always the same. It's, what's the alternative? What is the alternative to some of the properties that really do need to be revisited from an aesthetic perspective, from a functioning perspective, from a code perspective? Bayshore still has a lot of blight, and I'm not suggesting this property is blight, but it's far from well-maintained. And it would probably cost a lot of money to go in and bring this property to a level that we would feel comfortable with. And that's why we decided to propose this, because there is some obvious economic factors involved here. But in terms of the traffic and how many cars, we are proposing 21 parking stalls, so we would assume that there'll be those kinds of traffic movements. What I can tell you is that I live in Bayshore, so I deal with the traffic just as much as any other resident. And some of the properties that we've completed, like we just finished one on First Avenue in Bayshore, and that's a 20-unit building by the hospital. I'm there quite often, and I don't see a lot of movement in and out of that parking lot. At night, the parking lot's full. In the morning, it's full. But during the day, there's not a lot of movement. It's the people are gone, they're doing what they do, and then they come back at night. So I don't think there's going to be a constant movement of cars, unlike what could potentially happen if this was built under its current zoning, which is business district, where that could create a lot more traffic movements during the working hours.
And is 12 the magic number? Less than that would not work, is not feasible?
12 is what we felt worked for us economically and also fit on the footprint. But again, we're always open to discussion.
No, I'm glad to choose the applicant. I mean, we like working with you. You do a good job. You
Thank you.
maintain your properties. They're all nice, and you deal with issues if anybody raises them. So my concern is just that, and I don't have an opinion yet as to where I stand on it. I just wanted to see if
Understood.
you knew the answers to that for me.
Thank you.
Are there further questions from the board? Ms. Bruce?
Do your apartments, do you have a designated parking spot for each apartment that they have to use, or that they,
Yes.
They do.
In our downtown properties, yes. We assign one stall per unit.
will this have, would you
Yes,
be?
the same thing. And then, so that would be 12 stalls of the 21, and then the remaining stalls would be available for guests.
Yes, okay,
Or a second car.
thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board?
And just one last thing, because I just want to address the resident that came up. We would certainly make every effort if this were to be approved and this project were to move forward, we would make every effort with the existing residents to relocate them in one of our existing properties within the downtown, and then obviously make it available for them to move back in when the project was complete.
Thank you. And coming from you, Mr. Gargano, that actually means something, so thank you. Anything further from anyone? Not seeing anything. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Brown?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we close the public hearing and reserve decision tonight.
Motion by Mr. Brown to close the public hearing and reserve. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Robinson. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? We're reserved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn. Mr. Moriarty, second by Mr. Brown. All in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Same price?
No, that part. That part, you're leaving
I
out.
was going to ask. Same price.
Since you're so nice. That doesn't add up to the, bag of money.